Hey everybody, this is John. Today we're going to be talking about Exit West. It is a phenomenal novel by Mohsin Hamid. I really love this book. I gave it personally 5 out of 5 stars and a lot of good reasons why. So let's get into it. Exit West revolves around two characters, Saeed and Nadia. They are in this unnamed country, basically in the middle of a civil war, and we don't know exactly where they're coming from or what their country's story is, and the cause of really all of this discontent and civil war. But throughout the story, Saeed and Nadia meet. They, through some negative, pretty terrible circumstances, grow a lot closer together. Their relationship develops and goes throughout the book as they are moving through all of these different situations as essentially refugees in their initial country and then moving through the world. But Saeed and Nadia are two very different people. Saeed is a very traditional guy. He prays constantly. He is very family-oriented, very close with the people that he is close with. And Nadia, on the other hand, is very non-traditional, particularly for a woman in this particular region that we can assume. She's very much a go-getter versus Saeed, who is a little bit more laid back and conservative. Essentially, the plot of the story is what refugees have to go through. The plot is them drifting from place to place and playing the waiting game and always waiting for these quote-unquote doors to open for them. The author mentions these doors, but they happen to be, I believe, metaphorical doors, not actual, like, open a door and walk into another place. They're to symbolize traveling from place to place and the process of getting from one place to another. And the author kind of downplays that because I believe he didn't really think that that was very important. He wanted to show every other aspect of the refugees' process traveling from place to place. And they did all of this because their home, the place that they know and love and they grew up with and that they never really wanted to leave, was in a place where they could no longer be. It was either make the choice to stay and die or leave. That is almost, I guess, the plot of the book, but some really heavy themes in here when it comes to place and belonging. Nadia and Saeed are both conflicted in where they actually belong in these new places that they end up. Saeed tends to gravitate towards people that look like him and sound like him, pray like him, and act like him in every way. And Nadia challenges those thoughts and norms and ideals, and she thinks that, it doesn't necessarily mean that we belong to a certain group of people because we look like them, because we talk like them, whatever it might be. So really interesting themes of belonging and certain groups and how we can belong to groups even if they're not necessarily our friends and our family and something that we've grown up with, or vice versa. So a lot of challenging of belonging and friendships. And seeing the story told through the refugees' eyes was a really awesome perspective. It seemed really real, just being on the ground level of what these refugees are going through. I could envision myself in Saeed or Nadia's shoes, thinking of what happened if I was being attacked, or if something was happening near and dear to my home and to my family, and if my only options were to bounce and leave and go someplace else, and I don't know where else, but the only option is that or be killed. I could absolutely relate to both of these characters and the conflicts that they had to deal with, and it being taking place in a totally modern society where we have the internet and cell phones. That even more so hit home because they talked about Nadia and Saeed having to walk around for Wi-Fi signal or a hotspot to try to contact family members and friends and keep up with the news looking through their phones. So it's as if, the reader gets put into that situation in 2017, 2018, and you fully can envision what you would have to be doing if you were put in that situation. So I thought that was really interesting and moving. Now, I discussed this book with a few friends, and we were a little divided on the author's writing style. I personally really enjoyed it. The author is is deliberate and a little bit repetitive, and he tends to have longer sentences and really drive points home with his writing. But I just wanted to point out that some of the points that the author leaves you with at the end of chapters, or just some of the things that he says, is like, shit, wow. Yeah, I'm going to be thinking about that for a little bit. Like, at the end of one of these chapters, I'll just read, because the sentence is almost an entire page, but let me just jump in at the end. They could not protect him as Saeed and Nadia could, and so by making the promise he demanded she was in a sense killing him. But that is the way of things. For when we migrate, we murder from our lives those we leave behind. So I was sitting at the end of the chapter thinking about that for about 5 or 6 minutes. So one reason I would recommend this book to pretty much anybody is not only is it a quick read and very enjoyable and thought-provoking, but the author took steps like not mentioning the country that the main characters were actually from, and not getting into too many details to leave a lot of the politics and biases that anybody might be coming into the story with, and making that a non-factor. So if you have heard things about a certain country, or if you have a certain bias towards even a certain type of people, the author really took steps to say, like, that doesn't even matter. Like, this is just a story about two people connected with one another and their journey through this crisis together. So I really appreciate that, and that's why I would probably recommend this to anybody who really enjoys a good story about a relationship and about people dealing with hard, tangible issues. And obviously it made me truly appreciate the situation that I'm in right now, because again, if I were halfway across the world and put into the situations that Nadia and Saeed were in, I honestly don't know what I would do. So it is something to think about, and it's something that has not left me since I finished this book a few days ago. So yeah, those are a lot of the reasons why I really enjoyed Exit West. So go ahead and check it out if you have not read it already. Again, I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I really, really enjoyed it. So let me know what you think, if you've read it or not, or if you plan on reading it. I would love to chat about it more. But yeah, that's it. Exit West.